Hi guys, today we're going to be going over Pele, because she was pretty much revealed to us, she was revealed to us on the patch notes show, and we got a little teaser animation style video, so we're going to go over the animation first, and then go over the kit reveal for her, how it stacks up against the lore, all of that sort of thing. So, and the trailer itself presents Pele as sort of a calm protector style deity. You might even think that she'd probably be some sort of guardian based off of the trailer alone, but no, she's actually an assassin, and the trailer does hint at this as well, but it's mostly appealing to her creator deity side, because she is responsible in terms of Hawaiian myth and legends for creating islands around or within the Pacific Ocean. However, a lot of her mythological stories show her as a destructive goddess, and there are hints to this within the trailers, such as when a little flower petal sort of falls down onto the palm of her hand, and then within an instant she sort of ignites it or gets rid of it, and then she's holding her daggers and it's like she's ready to join the battle or something. I think it's a nice trailer, but considering the fact that they decided to make her an assassin, I feel like they probably introduced Pele in terms of when it's linked to her in-game version in an interesting way, because I suppose you could say that they're showing two sides to her, through her kit and what she seems to be representing through the fact that she's an assassin and everything along those lines. You're showing off her destructive nature, but in this little lore trailer you're showing off her creative, gentle, I suppose more positive, human-friendly. And as for the kit itself, I was watching it with my brother and he was pretty much making comparisons to every single broken assassin release that we've had. Ratatoska, Daji might not have necessarily had a broken release, but it's not fun to go up against a Daji. Susanoo at points. So, it doesn't seem unfair to say that. A lot of her skills are interesting, the whole way that her passive works, where with her one, it can store one of the skills so you can cast the skill twice. The fact that her skills evolve. It's simple, but they're nice subtle callbacks to her lore as well. Speaking of subtle callbacks to her lore, her dance emote, okay, it's not a dance emote, but her backing animation is it's akin to a sort of, funky, free-looking dance animation sort of thing. That's calling back to one of the things that she resides over as a goddess. Her laugh as well, a nice little subtle callbacks to the fact that Pele, more or less, she could do, or she felt like she could do whatever she wanted. She felt free. Of course, it was sort of do whatever I want now, face the consequences later sort of deal, but even still, that's kind of what taunting can be sometimes in Smite. It can be a very useful thing, because if your opponent messes up, they miss a skill, they miss an ult, something like that, and you spam the crap out of the laugh button, you do the taunts, you do whatever, if you have a macro going on, then you can have some real fun with it, because Hi-Rez doesn't cap that stuff like they do the VGS system, so you can just spam laughs if you want to, like really annoyingly. But if you use the taunt system properly, you can actually get quite the advantage on some of your enemies, depending on, it's on an individual basis. If they realize they can literally just press the mute button on you, then whatever. The only taunts you can take advantage at that point are literally just the pure animations of the laughs. Even if you mute her laugh, she's still, that she's probably going to laugh at you, I think. Because I can't remember, I think muting a player also blocks the animations. I can't remember. I don't think it blocks things like dances and waves. I think it purely just blocks the sound and might also block laugh emotes, so you can't necessarily see the animation. Of course, if the enemy player is fighting you whilst they're using the laugh, then you won't see the animation anyway. So I suppose it doesn't matter. As far as those animations go, very good job, Hi-Rez. But the damage looks a bit insane. And, I mean, just look at the combos you can do, popping the ult, getting a knock-up, and then blasting people constantly. And I'm assuming you can probably get AAs in between each of the ult blasts, or in between each of the skills. So yeah, that's boatloads of damage if you know what you're doing. And she's got a decent movement skill. It's not amazing, she can't go through walls with it, or over walls or anything like that, but it gives her a movement buff that's pretty significant, and it does a little damage, I'm sure. Hey, why not add, a few extra points of damage onto the mountain truckload of damage that we're already giving you, Pele? Why not? You represent volcanoes and fire and lightning and violence, so, you need this stuff. So, moving on to Pele's design, I think Hi-Rez did a really, really good job. Community feedback, as they said, helped them to evaluate her design and make some changes to it, and Starting with the flowers straight off the bat. Starting off with the flowers, there was a point in Polynesian history where flowers were only allowed to be worn by royalty. Aside from that, flowers aren't exactly a rare thing over on these islands. And of course, different islands will have different meanings for different types of flowers, but generally they're a sign of importance and respect. They can be worn at weddings, as gifts for accomplishments, things like that. They're fairly special. Her beauty, a throwback to the lore, it got her in as much trouble as it did make her feel good about herself, so there's that. The tattoos, similar to the flowers, they had important symbolic meaning. There were times in history where the tattoos could be used as rites of passage, or like war tattoos, things like that. They had different purposes and meanings, similar to the flowers. As for the different rocky, molten lava-esque rock around her sort of body, she's supposed to become a volcano in her lore, then that's fine the way it is, even if it is acting as some sort of armor. It still looks fine, it looks good. As for the rest of her design, considering the location that we're talking about, the part of the world that we're talking about, these islands mostly surrounded by a lot of seawater, and clothing isn't very useful to you when you're surrounded by sea. Of course, if you're going diving, like scuba diving in the modern day, then yes, clothing could be useful, but of course, that gear probably wouldn't have been around the time these myths were being formed and spread. And there's a good reason as to why athletes that swim don't wear all that much clothing. There are other reasons as to why it's justified for Pele to not wear all that much, but overall her design is very well done. There's also one last thing about Pele's kit that Iris has done that is actually fairly lore accurate, and that's just the range in all of her abilities for an assassin, or at least when you compare her to other assassins. Her 1 is a line ability that goes fairly far, and indeed comes back and fires little extra volleys, like unfortunate debris that you might find if a volcano erupts. By debris, I mean like fiery debris. Her 2 has a fairly large AoE around her. Her 2 has a fairly large AoE around her, and her ultimate hits once and then afterwards can keep pounding a cone that protrudes out from the enemy that's hit a few times. So for an assassin, she has a lot of AoE. So if that's really not just overall, when you just look at her kit, when you just look at her abilities, if that's not screaming back to the destructive power or just the destructive range of a volcano, I'm just not too sure what else really could. It's also pretty violent. One thing I'm going to slot in here before we move on, when you compare her card art to her actual in-game model, I actually feel like she's one of the rare examples of those gods or goddesses that actually has an in-game model that looks better than the card art itself, which is quite funny. It also just feels more Hawaiian. The game model, I mean, than the card art. I don't know why, it just does to me. Anyone else feel that way? And also, the voice actress that they chose for Pele, I like it. I think it works quite well. Some of the lines seem like they'd be kind of lines that people would not like the Cupid lines, you know, where Cupid spams woohoo or awesome. For some reason, people have a problem with Cupid's voice back, and I can understand why to a degree, but a part of me doesn't understand at all. Now, I'm not the type of YouTuber to call any sort of gods OP or to judge that sort of thing, but she looks like she's going to be very strong out of the gate. My guess is that there'll be plenty of people to complain about this god. I don't know, I think Iris has some nice ideas in her kit, so maybe not, guess we'll have to wait and see. Now just to make sure I actually do everything I said I was going to in this video, I'm going to just quickly recap on the whole kit and how that's accurate in the lore, just because I might not have done that. So, in terms of her 1, that's pretty much akin to a volley of lava being launched from a volcano, and she is the goddess of volcanoes, among other things, but volcanoes. And fire, looks like a very fiery skill, so plus for accuracy there. Then her second skill is an eruption, and her second skill is a knock-up, but it's AoE, and it kind of comes in volleys. Either way, that seems like a fairly nice connection you could draw there to volcanoes, so another plus for lore accuracy there. Her ultimate is yet another throwback to the fact that she is a goddess of volcanoes, but also just tying that in there with, you know, her residing over lightning as well, so that's a nice thing to consider as well. Even her 3, you could link it to volcanoes in the sense that when a volcano erupts, it covers quite a wide area. It can be pretty hard to escape if you're in the vicinity, and of course you would very much want to escape if you're in the vicinity. So there's that. I think you can draw the connections as far as her kit goes to the lore, so overall, very nicely done, Hi-Res. Also, an added thing that we're just going to tack onto this video, because I don't feel like making a dedicated video just on this topic. It would be like 1 to 2 minutes long, it just doesn't seem worth it. The Tier 5 skins, Ganesh and Ares, they're the winners. You need to vote between them. Well, you don't need to. You don't even need to care, especially if you don't even play Guardians, but if you do play Guardians and you have Mastery X Ares like me, pick Ares. These skins are incredibly original, unique in every single way. We don't have anything like these skins in the game, I assure you. So, go ahead and pick Ares. Is what I'm going to do. My Mastery X Ares, Ares. Good. Okay, cool. But what do you think about Pele? Do you like her design? Do you like her voice pack? Do you think she's going to be broken? Do you think she's going to be fun? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. And go ahead and leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're new here to see more content just like this, of course. And until the next video, have a very good day. I have been Prime, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.